Hi guys, so this video is going to be a video that's just going to be kind of a review so you get the hang of how we are learning this semester. So the first objective we're going to deal with is students will be able to solve equations. So a couple of steps that you've probably seen in the past. The first thing you need to remember is if there are parentheses, you're going to want to use your distributive property to remove them. Sometimes, and we'll talk about that throughout this video, you can distribute or you can get rid of the number in front, but you do want to make sure that you're removing those parentheses to be able to use the things inside of the parentheses. Once you've done that, you will want to look and make sure that you don't have any like terms on each side to combine. So make sure you're paying attention to just one side at a time and not combining between the sides. Then you're going to add or subtract so you get all of your variables on one side and all of the constants on another. Again, this may be that you have to move a variable and a constant, but you do want to make sure that one side's variable and one side's constant, and that's it. You may need to do that in 2 steps as well. Then the next thing you're going to want to do is multiply or divide to get the variable by itself. You might have to do both, but you should only have to do this once. Then you can plug your answers back in so that you can check your work and you know if you got it correct. So looking down here, we're going to start with some simple ones and work our way up to more difficult ones. Remember that you're using inverse operations to get these things away from each other. So if we look at number 1, we can draw our wall so we know that we're getting everything away from the x. So we're going to move the 5. Since it's a positive 5, the opposite of that is subtract or negative. So we'll get that x is equal to 8. Looking at number 2, we see that our 11 is negative, or it has a minus in front of it. So that means we're going to add it to the other side to get us that z is equal to also 8. When we get to number 3, we see that there's a 7 and a w together. Anytime you have a number on a variable, you're understanding that to be multiplying the 7 times the w. So you're going to divide by 7 because the inverse of multiply is to divide. So w is equal to 4. So we're going to jump to number 5 now. And you notice that we have a 4 over 7 in front of our x. So that means we're doing 4 divided by 7 and then multiplying that by x. So there's 2 ways that you can do this. The first way is to think about dividing by 4 sevenths. And remembering that when you divide fractions, you're really multiplying by the reciprocal. And if we do that, then we're going to do 7 times 4 is 28, and divide that by 4 times 7, which is also 28. So 28 divided by 28 is 1, leaving us with just an x. And then on the other side, you do 12 times 7, which is 84, divided by 4 is 21. Remember that when you are working with fractions, you're really just multiplying the numerators and dividing by the denominator. Option 2, we can split this into a 2-step equation. The first thing we can do is multiply by 7. So 4 times 7 is 28, divided by 7 gives us just 4. And 12 times 7 is 84. And then divide by 4 to get that x is equal to 21. Either way is perfectly fine, but you want to make sure that you can do one of those 2 ways. All right, now we're going to head up to number 6. This one has multiple steps. Before we can move the 3 off the x, we need to move the 5. So since the 5 is negative, we are going to add it to both sides. So we get that 3x is equal to 9. And then we can divide by 3 so that x is equal to 3. Now look at number 8. Number 8 is slightly different than number 4 because number 4 was just one big fraction that we could just get rid of the 3 and go about our business. But number 8 has something in the way. So we're going to do number 8 instead. And so for number 8, before you can get rid of the 5, you need to get rid of the negative 13. To get rid of the negative 13, we will do the opposite, which is make it positive. So we're going to add 13 to both sides, leaving us with x plus 4 over 5 is equal to 23. That is not correct. It is equal to 3. It's a negative 10. So then Once we've done that, we can multiply by 5 because that fraction bar is just a big giant division bar. So the opposite of divide is multiply, giving us x plus 4 is equal to 15. And then lastly, we will minus the 4. So x is equal to 11. Make sure you're watching those negatives. And then lastly, number 10. Number 10 is another one that you can do with two different options. Option 1 is to leave it in fractions, and I would make this easier by making that 1 9 over 9, because then it's looking like the other fractions. So I would minus the 7/9 to give me 4/9 times z minus 2 is equal to 2/9. And I did that instead of distributing because I know that 4/9 times 2 isn't going to be a whole number, and I'm going to increase my number of fractions. So then I can take this and I can multiply by 9 over 4, multiplying by the reciprocal, because then 9 over 4 times 4 over 9 gives us the 1, which makes the parentheses go away. And then 2 times 9 is 18, divided by 9 times 4 is 36, gives us 1/2. Then I can add my 2 to get that z is equal to 2.5, or 5 over 4. You do want to leave your answers as improper fractions. Option 2 deals with taking those fractions away. So you would multiply by the least common denominator. So I see that my denominator of both of these fractions is 9, so I can multiply the entire equation by 9. Now, if it had been like 3 and 6, then I would multiply by 6, because 6 is divisible by 3 and 6. You want to multiply by a number that is divisible evenly by all of your denominators. So 9 times 4 is 36, divided by 9 is 4. And then 9 times 7 is 63, divided by 9 is 7, and is equal to 9. Remember, whatever you can do anything you want to an equation as long as you do it to everything in that equation. So that's why I was able to multiply the whole thing by 9. From there, you can go ahead and distribute the 4 in and get 4z minus 8 plus 7 is equal to 9. You could have also subtracted the 7 and then divided by 4 if you wanted to. Then here you're going to combine your like terms and get 4z minus 1 is equal to 9. Add the 1 to both sides to get that 4z is equal to 10. And then lastly, you are going to divide by 4 and get that z is equal to 5/2, or 2.5. Again, you could just leave it as an improper fraction that has been simplified. This was all variables on one side of the equation. You'll have another video to watch in just a second that has variables on both sides of the equation.